Members, this is the appointed time. We have a quorum. So let's begin the meeting of the panel on food safety and environmental hygiene in the 8th Legislative Council. The first item is election of chairman and deputy chairman. We now proceed to the election of chairman for this panel. The Secretariat has already issued a notice that at the end of the nomination period for chairmanship of this panel, only one valid nomination has been received, and that's Ms. Rebecca Chan, nominated by Ms. Elaine Chick and seconded by Ms. Christine Fong. No objection, as Ms. Rebecca Chan is not chair or deputy chair of any other panel or chair or deputy chair of any related government advisory bodies. According to the relevant rules in the Rules of Procedure and House Rules, I now declare that Ms. Rebecca Chen returned as chair of the panel on food safety and environmental hygiene. Please come forward and chair the meeting. Thank you. Members, the next item is to elect a deputy chairman for the panel on food safety and environmental hygiene for the 2026 legislative session. The Secretariat has issued a notice to inform members that at the end of the nomination period for deputy chairman of the panel, only one valid nomination has been received, and that's Mr. Kitson Young, nominated by Mr. Scott Leung and seconded by Ms. Rebecca Chan. As Mr. Kitson Young is not chair or deputy chair of any panel or committee or chair or deputy chair of any government advisory bodies, according to the requirements in the Rules of Procedure and the House Rules, I now declare Mr. Kitson Young deputy chair of the panel on food safety and environmental hygiene for the 2026 session. Next item, schedule of meetings for the 2026 session. Now, members, please note that the regular meeting of the panel is usually scheduled Tuesday, the second Tuesday of each month at 2:30 p.m. Let's see if members agree to the arrangement, and please refer to the proposed schedule of meeting for the 2026 session just tabled. But please note that as the second Tuesday of March clashes with the two sessions, the regular meeting in March will be rescheduled to 4:30 Tuesday on the 17th of March. Now, for the second Tuesday in April, it will clash with the Special Finance Committee meetings. So the April regular meeting will be rescheduled to 4:30 p.m. Tuesday on the 21st of April. Any questions relating to the schedule of meetings? Yes, Ms. Elaine Chick, please switch on her mic at the back. For the district councils, it so happens that the regular meetings are held in the afternoon of the same Tuesday of each month. So I'd like to know whether this is subject to any further discussion. Is it possible to change the schedule here? Right, we understand that members do have busy schedules. But then we also need to work out the meeting schedules together with the administration, taking into account whether our schedule clashes with those of other committees, panels, so on and so forth. Now, for the schedule here, we propose to change some of the meeting dates because they clash with, say, the two sessions and the Special Finance Committee meetings. So there is really limited room for further adjustments. So let's see how you will work out your own diary. Next, items for discussion at the next meeting. The next meeting will be held very soon. That's on the 29th. It's a policy briefing for the panel. For members to have a full grasp of the policy directions of the government, the Secretary for Environment and Ecology will attend the policy briefing session of this panel between 1:30 and 3 p.m. on Thursday, the 29th of January, to brief members on his policy portfolio. So do make time for this meeting with the Secretary. He will be briefing us on the work of his portfolio. The next regular meeting will be held at 2:30 p.m. Tuesday on the 10th of February. We will discuss two items. First, allowing dogs to enter permitted restaurants, and two, enhancing the facilities and hygiene of public toilets. Any comments, members? Right, if there are no questions, then we move on to the next item. We need to go through other matters. Now, we just mentioned two proposed items for the next regular meeting, and before you should see another list of items for discussion in the upcoming meetings. So just take a look and see if you have comments. I may allow each member to speak for 2 minutes since we are to adjourn before 9:30. So do give us your comments, and the Deputy Chair and myself will reflect your views to the Secretary in the upcoming meeting. 8 members would like to speak. I will give each member 2 minutes. Ms. Joey Chan. Thank you, Chair. In the upcoming meetings, I'd like to discuss the vacancy rate of public markets. I hope that public markets can be used to help the underprivileged and young people and tenants in general. I hope to have discussion as quickly as possible. Since the budget will be delivered soon, we'd like to chip in the drawing up process of the budget. The next point is about updating the food safety standards. In fact, at the meeting of the 30th of September in the last session, this panel discussed the same issue, and the item was about updating the safety standards for sweeteners. And that I know this year a public consultation will be conducted. I hope that we have this a discussion. Mrs. Stephen Ho. Yes, on food safety, we definitely need to discuss standards. And that means standards to facilitate the import of quality products from the mainland to Hong Kong. That may involve some rezoning proposals to cater for future development needs, such as wholesale markets for local fishermen and farmers. They are now subject to some land use restrictions. So we should have a discussion so that we can have a testing center, and that there will be some space for our local practitioners to undergo wholesale and retail arrangements there, together with insurance. The other point is about environmental hygiene standards in the tendering process. Now, I understand that many enterprises would like to deploy technology, only that the government doesn't give too much weight in the tender assessment process. In fact, for street cleansing, we've seen some successful examples of using technology to keep the streets clean. So I hope that this will be reflected in government tenders so that we can encourage people to deploy technology. Mr. Kisson-Yang, 3 topics. First, revitalizing public markets. The vacancy rate is now quite high. I'd like to have a discussion on ways to revitalize public markets so as to give them a stronger appeal. In the mainland, some markets are actually tourist attractions. So I want to give shine to our public markets as well, so that we can attract visitors as well as locals. The second point is about leveraging technology. Mr. Stephen Ho already sang praises about the use of technology, but I think there is room for improvement. For example, deploying CCTV for keeping the streets clean. I don't think it's as efficient as we have hoped or as effective. So I'd like to discuss further how we use technology to enforce the law and, say, impose rodent control. Third point is about environmental hygiene. We've seen improvements and yet there are still hygiene black spots. We should ponder how we can further improve district governance, especially on hygiene issue. Yes, Mr. Scott Leung, another member mentioned revitalizing public markets because of the high vacancy rate. Can we think out of the box? For example, for some designated trades, is it possible to relax their tenancy requirements to provide more flexibility in the tendering process? The second question is about hawker policy. Now, in the past, we discussed fixed pitch stalls and whether people are spending money there, whether we can allow extension of permits and allow newcomers to join. I hope to have a further discussion. The next point is about itinerary hawkers. There is no mechanism for these licenses to be renewed, but nowadays, itinerary hawkers are not just about allowing people to make a living. It's about making the place a tourist attraction. It's about succession of culture. So for these itinerary hawkers with unique characteristics, I hope that there is room for them to pass on their business. Mr. Jonathan Leung. Hong Kong is undergoing economic transformation. Licensing matters would directly affect our competitiveness. We need to enhance the licensing system. On the 1st of March 2023, the government introduced a professional mechanism, and that licenses would be issued before checks are conducted. But this is limited to refreshments and food factories. I think it should be extended to other aspects. The other point is about parallel trading. Food from the mainland comes in boxes, including sea box, via land transport by parallel traders, but they are not equipped with proper freezing facilities, and this is a risk. The government should ensure food safety. Right, Mr. Peter Shou. This is about food safety and environmental hygiene. On food safety, I think we need to be careful about cross-boundary online shopping. Say for food safety, we have the local food labeling system. We tell people the ingredients. Say if you are allergic to peanuts or you may have some allergic reaction or even asthma, you need to make sure this is labeled. This is to protect the health of Hong Kong people. But if we allow food to be purchased from outside the territory, then they may not fulfill the labeling requirement. Now, this mode of consumption is becoming more popular. In the future, most purchases will be made online instead of being made at retail outlets. So we need to step up monitoring and regulation. So this is a suggestion for the government. The other point is about parallel trading. It's all right if you bring in some items for self-use, but it's another issue if these items come in boxes for further business dealings. It hampers the business environment in Hong Kong. Another point is about environmental hygiene. The government has made numerous efforts to keep Hong Kong clean, and that the government requires shops to tidy up their shop space and the shop front, and according to my friends, their business is affected. Will the government allow a relaxation of rules?
Thank you. Next, Ms. Christine Fong. Thank you, Chair. For the very first meeting, we will talk about the item relating to pet-friendly restaurants. I actually pay close attention to the issue. In my district, there is much outdoor sitting accommodation. For outside seating area, I think we should talk about how we can streamline the application procedures so that we can have one-stop application services to ensure food safety, but also expedite the provision of outdoor seating accommodation. I also pay close attention to environmental hygiene issues as well as the revitalization of public markets. I think we can perhaps outsource some of the operations. If the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department thinks that the markets cannot be revitalized, can we outsource the operations? We need to make sure compliance will enhance safety of public markets. Thank you. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, we had other members talking about pet-friendly restaurants. I want to say on this issue, we want to boost the pet economy. For pet-friendly restaurants, apart from making sure we have the disposable cutlery, can we make clear the licensing details, and we should consult the restaurant stakeholders on this. Also, how can we make good use of technology in public markets to mitigate hazards such as rodents and other pests? It's something we want to talk about. Thank you, Chair. Ms. Elaine Chick. Thank you, Chair. I think we should discuss two issues. One of them has already been mentioned by members. We want to revitalize public markets. We do have a relatively high vacant rate. We need to see how we can make good use of the space of markets for different purposes so that we have more spaces for citizens or other organizations to make use of. The government has been making good use of technology to monitor the problem of illegal disposal of waste. And we have seen the government achieving quite good results, but we do see in some crowded commercial areas there is disposal of sewage water. So can we make good use of technology to monitor such behavior as well? Thank you. Mr. Hong come in. Thank you, Chair. I want to discuss two issues in future meetings. One on food safety. We already have smart production of food. How can we make sure we are regulating food safety, and what is happening with the licensing regime? We can perhaps discuss these aspects. Two, on street hygiene, we have received much feedback from citizens on street hygiene issues. So I think we can talk about the monitoring mechanism in future. Thank you. Mr. Chen Pok-chi. Thank you. Regarding what other members said about discussing revitalization of public markets, I very much agree. In our discussions, I think we should also talk about live chicken stalls. Members also mentioned the use of AI and technology. Recently, we have seen robotic dogs being used in protecting environmental hygiene, so I think we can perhaps discuss this aspect as well. Thank you. I also have some suggestions to make. We want to talk about food truck licenses as well as bazaar policies in the panel on food safety and environmental hygiene meetings. We have different surveillance programs on streets, but then we do see some street sleepers or some with mental health issues hoarding stuff on the streets. That has definitely had an impact on environmental hygiene. We have discussed this issue earlier at meetings of the council, but we have had limited results in mitigating this problem. I think we should talk about this issue also with pest control as well as the disposal of nuclear water by Japan. We also need to discuss these issues that we have been discussing at previous meetings of the panel. The deputy chairman and I will hold a meeting with the bureau to draw up a work plan, and we need to make sure the timetable ties in with government initiatives. I know that members may be very eager to discuss certain issues, but we need to go with the flow. The House Committee chairman talked about at last week's House Committee meeting basic principles about forming policy subcommittees under the House Committee and panels. And the House Committee agreed that after all suggestions were received in relation to the forming of policy subcommittees, that the House Committee will consider the relevant factors and determine the order of setting up policy subcommittees. If you think there's a need to set up a subcommittee under this panel to study certain matters, please submit your suggestion to the Secretariat before 5 p.m. on 6th of February, of Friday, and you have to include the proposed terms of reference, timetable and work plan, etc. We have quite a number of new members here, so I would like to remind members the subcommittee would have to complete its work within 12 months, and some of the items can actually be discussed under the panel if they are persistent issues that would take, say, 3 to 4 years to deal with. The subcommittees only have 12 months to complete its work. If you have any suggestions, please let us know. And if we have policy subcommittee formed under the panel, it wouldn't be the case that all of the members of the panel would have to join. We need to have at least half of the panel members joining. However, if you have anything that is unclear, you can perhaps ask the Secretariat later. The last agenda item is any other business. We have no other business. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.